Do you go overseas much? It's expensive, isn't it, getting a plane ticket to go overseas? It was even more expensive in the 1960s. And have you heard the story about Reg Spiers? He's an Australian fellow who decided to get himself from the UK to Australia in a fairly novel manner. Reg, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, look, it was a fairly expensive process, wasn't it? An international plane ticket from the UK to Australia back in the 1960s?
Yeah, it was. It certainly was, but I never paid it. I decided to find another way.
You did find another way, and it's become infamous. And in fact, there's a whole book written on it, Out of the Box by McSorley. But it's your story, and take us back there. You had this great desire to get back to Australia, but you'd run into a bit of trouble.
Well, yeah, I didn't have any money, and that was basically the trouble. I wanted to get home, and I worked for Air France at the London airport. So with all the knowledge that I gleaned from that, I decided to build a box and jump in it and go home.
Essentially post yourself back to Australia.
COD. That's how I beat the cost of it.
So cash on delivery. It sounds like such a harebrained scheme, and yet it just might work. Tell us how you went about it.
Well, my friend in London, Johnny McSorley, I put the idea to him, and he thought immediately I was crazy. But then he grabbed it with me, and he built the box.
How big was it?
5 feet by 2.5 feet by 3 feet. That was the largest piece of freight you could get on a jet aircraft in those days.
Right. And how did you deck it out?
Well, Johnny at the time had worked as a carpenter, so he knew what he was doing. So it was built in such a way that I could get out either end and get back in and put the latches on and sit back in there.
So you crawl in, and what, it gets dropped off at the...
There were some friends taken in a ute to the freight delivery section at London Airport with me in it. 24 hours later, they put me on a plane, and away I went.
How are you feeling at this point?
I'm okay. You know, look, I'm 22 years old. I can do anything. Now, you're fearless at that age. And I said, well, here's the box, get in, and let's see what happens.
And what did you have for food? And, of course, toilet?
Well, no, we took that into account, you know. I didn't want to live with all parts of myself. So I tapered my eating off, so I didn't have any bodily functions other than taking a leak when I was in the thing.
And that actually, you ran into a little bit of a quandary with that process when the plane, the first stop was France, was it?
Paris, yeah, because I've been in the bloody thing for 24 hours. I was dying for a leak. So when the plane took off from London, I got out of the bloody box and took a leak in this 57 varieties bean can, a big catering one, and stretching my legs. So there's pitch black in there. I had a torch at the beginning, and I took a leak in this can and put it on top of the box and then stretched my legs a bit, and then I felt the plane's inclination going down. And I didn't panic. I thought, better get back in this bloody box. Back into the box, closed both ends, sat there, waited for the thing, and as it's just hitting the ground, I thought of the can of pee on top of the box. I thought, here I go, I didn't get far.
But they didn't discover you. They discovered the can.
It was a bit like you can't see the forest for the trees. They came in, these French guys came in, and they saw the can of pee, and they went off. They were dirty on the English.
They thought it was a nasty surprise the English had left for them.
Yes, but it's Aussie pee. So it was a configuration. They never linked the box and the pee.
Fantastic. Reg Spiers is on the line. He's the man that famously posted himself from the UK to Australia back in the 1960s. Paris was the first stop, and India was the second.
Yes, India was the next spot, and it was a long flight, but by now the batteries have gone on the torch and it's pitch black, but it didn't bother me at all. It's just dark. So I slept, and then it hit India in daytime, and it was as hot as hell, and they took me off the plane and lobbed me on the tarmac, and it was so hot. I stripped off all my clothes. I was sweating in there it was like a sauna, until eventually along they came and put me in another aeroplane that went from Bombay to I think it was Singapore, and then a long hop from Singapore to Perth in Australia.
And home. But people are warned that the compartments where the luggage goes and where the packages go, that it's not pressurised and that it's not heated. I mean, didn't you nearly freeze to death?
No. I worked for Air France. I had all the specifications on these aeroplanes, so I knew. I mean, the whole bloody fuselage is pressurized, and my comfort is pretty much, aside from being a little cramped, same as the people upstairs.
Wow.
You fly economy, you know what it's like.
I do fly economy, it's true. Yeah. So, look, you get to Perth. You were hoping to get to Adelaide, of course. You get to Perth,
yes.
And at this point in time, you still haven't paid for it because it's cash on delivery.
That's right. Well, all the names, of course, are fictitious.
So what happens?
And well, I got out of the bloody box, I put on a suit and walked away. Basically, that.
And the story lives on all these years later, nearly 50 years later.
Yeah, well, 50 years. I don't know why people are so intrigued with this. It's rather odd, but there you are.
Well, it's a pretty great story.
Well, it's different, I guess.
Yeah. And did you get home to see your daughter's birthday in time?
Yes, I got home. It took me a while. It took me a week to hitchhike from Perth to Adelaide, but I got there eventually.
No, it's a fantastic story. Have you got any others to match it, Reg, or is that really the only big one?
The box is just one small part of my life. It's the beginning of something, and it starts other things to move, and my life has never been normal.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're glad for it, and it's a terrific story to share as well. It's been written down into the book Out of the Box by Marcus McSorley. It is the story of Reg Spiers, the Australian who decided to post himself from the UK to Australia back in the 1960s. Hey, Reg.
Yes.
Thanks for the chat, mate.
My pleasure. Nice talking to you.